Well, good morning, Holy Spirit Parish, and welcome to this final episode, seems like the wrong word, of our inside story for this program year. Never fear, we're already planning for next year and already have our first guest presenters for next October. So we're very excited to continue this program. But I'm especially excited today to introduce our presenter, Guy Gehrman. I have the formal introduction and then an informal introduction. The formal introduction. Guy Gehrman is retiring after 45 years at Pacelli High School, where he has taught literature, writing, and psychology. At Pacelli, he served as Dean of Students, Student Council Moderator, Faculty Representative on the Advisory Council, and English Department Representative on the Diocesan Curriculum Committee. He is the recipient of the Portage County Business Council Golden Apple Award, the Diocese of La Crosse Excellence in Teaching Award, and UWSP's Tom Hayes Memorial Award for Excellence in Teacher Education. He and his wife, Sandy, have been members of Holy Spirit Parish since its inception. That is a wonderful outside view of the person of Guy Gehrman, but there's a lot more going on the inside, and I'm going to leave all of that for Guy to share, but I just wanted to say that what I know of Guy is that he has a deep and abiding affinity for the human condition, and a deep and abiding love for the Divine One. And we are going to be the good beneficiaries of all of that this morning. So please welcome Guy.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much. When Julie asked me to speak as part of this series, I was very, very honored and a little nervous too, considering the real quality of the people who have presented in this series before. But I look out here and I see lots of people whose children I've taught. You can see a colleague over here, that was cool. And feel very comfortable knowing that I'm amongst friends. So, in the bulletin, Julie talked about the presentation here as part of the road to Emmaus. And I think I'm still on the road, as we all are, but the road for me started in Kimberly, Wisconsin, where I was part of the grade school experience there. We had Catholic education only from grades 2 to 6. So from kindergarten and first grade, I was in public school. And then from 2nd to 6th, I was in Catholic school. And then 7th, 8th, and 9th, I was back in public school again. And I just missed that glorious time where they had, you may remember this, where they had share time, where the public school kids went to the Catholic schools in the morning to get their education, then came back again. So every day I would go to church. I had the nuns teaching me, and it was that, along with my mother especially, brought around the importance of a Catholic education and the importance of God in our lives. Then in high school, I had a very, very special opportunity. This was a time where Oneida Sacred Heart, which had been a seminary for many, many years, decided they were going to try a great experiment where it would not be a seminary, but it would be a Catholic boarding school. And so I saw this as an opportunity to get a kind of a new start in a new place and get a little deeper Catholic education. It was a boarding school, and they still had all the teachers, the priests from the seminary, and the curriculum from the seminary. So it was really special. I kind of got that seminary experience without necessarily the expectations of going on to be a priest. And it's probably a good thing because the junior year, the girls came. They didn't live there. They commuted in from Green Bay. But it was an interesting experience because all of a sudden, some of the bathrooms that were ours weren't ours anymore. And we had to learn that real quick, which was which. But it was an exciting time. This was in the early 70s. It was an exciting time. Vatican II was just about 10 years in the past, and you could really feel the excitement in the teacher priests over what was becoming of the church and the possibilities of the church, and we were all filled with that excitement. So a few of us went on to be priests, but the rest of us, I think, were just excited over the role of the laity, the presence of God in our lives, and the possibilities for all in the church. That kind of excitement, I guess, stays with me still. Two things influenced me strongly in high school. One of them was teaching 6th grade CCD, where I stood in front of those 6th graders and planned the lessons they had for me. And it just seemed to me like the most natural thing to be in front of them. And it's where I got the idea that this might be something that I could do, that I could be good at, that I could communicate well, that I was well organized, and I had the skills to do this. And the second thing was one of my teachers, Father Gordon Gilsdorf. And I kind of wish Natasha Enders was here today because I know that years after me, she was taught by Father Gordy too at Notre Dame Academy. And man, he was really outstanding. He taught me both religion and English. He had a scholarly, no-nonsense approach that really appealed to me. He enjoyed his work. He enjoyed his relationship to us students. And that inspired me to be an English teacher. And not just an English teacher, but I wanted to be an English teacher in a Catholic high school because I think that prayer, the search for God, is a real important part of an adolescent's education. And I kind of knew that I wasn't going to make big money teaching in a Catholic school, but that's where God led me. That's where I got the idea that God led me. And then in college, I went to St. Mary's College at the time, university now, in Winona, Minnesota. And I started out in biology because I got this idea that I'd love to work outdoors, work in nature, love to work with plants and animals and things like that. But that quickly changed when I found out how much chemistry was involved, and that scared me because I didn't have any in high school. So I changed my real skill in love, writing and literature. And at St. Mary's, I was introduced to the Christian Brothers. And they showed me how adults could be committed to young people's education. And at that time, Pacelli was staffed by the Christian Brothers, so they helped me to get the job at Pacelli, which turned out, of course, to be where God was leading me. I see my job as a calling from God and a vocation, a way of giving my life to God in service. I've always enjoyed being in the classroom. When I was younger, I was almost surprised to get a paycheck and be reminded that I was paid for what I did. Now, of course, as I got older and got more bills, I became to rely on it. But it was kind of funny at first when I was younger to go, man, I'm getting paid for this? Wow. So it really was something that I've enjoyed. I don't consider myself a real preachy sort of person. Now and then, I'll give a lesson where I think it's necessary to a group of students. But I feel that I evangelize more by demonstrating my faith in a number of different ways. I start my class with meaningful prayers. I have 3 or 4 books that I use to bring prayers from. One of the things I don't do is ask the kids for petitions, and that, kids, people kind of think, oh, wow, why not? Well, I found out from listening in other classes that when you have the kids petition, it's usually stuff like that the basketball team wins tonight, that nobody gets hurt, that I passed my test. And it's like, okay, we can get a little deeper than this, guys. So I'll do the praying, you do the reflecting as I pray. I participate fully in school religious services, singing and reading. I remember years ago once there was a meeting of the students, and I was happening to sit in with the seniors. And the religion teacher was asking, what can we do? How can we make masses better? And one of the kids brought up, well, the faculty members sing too loud. And I said, wait a minute. You should be drowning me out, you guys. But tried to get across the idea there that no, participation is something you do. It's not something you avoid. I chaperone some religious field trips, occasionally offering testimony about my own life, especially about my adoption. And I was adopted, and I'll get into this a bit later. But, as kids wonder about the whole abortion issue, and as kids wonder what's right and what's wrong, I like to be able to stand up and say, I'm someone who is very, very glad my mother decided to have me. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But I give testimony about things like that. And I love to compliment students on things that you don't often get complimented about. I compliment students about when they help out at church services, when they give testimony to their own faith experiences, their academic accomplishments. Athletics, they really, really get recognized for that a lot. And I like to give the students recognition for the things they don't always get recognized about. And just that little word every now and then, that little word of encouragement, I noticed, I'm appreciative of what you do. I think that makes a big impression on adolescents. I try to work God into my classes whenever appropriate. I support faith-centered themes in writing. I love it when they deal with social, religious, moral themes as they come up in literature. Some of the things we talk about include the nature of original sin. I have a couple of works where original sin comes into that. We talk about what is that really? God's justice in the world. What is justice? And a big thing for them is the idea of morality. They're very quick to jump on the bandwagon that morality is something that is relative. And I point out to them, well, if morality depends on the individual, then what is right in the world? Is there really a God if morality is relative? God has a plan, a way that we should live. And although we may not know exactly what the rules and regulations are, we may not know exactly what's in God's mind, God has a mind. God has a plan. And we need to find that out and understand that it's a universal plan that applies to all of us. You can't really believe in God and say that morality is relative. It's his thing. It's what he brings to us. God has a plan for us. He dictates right and wrong and love at the center of things. So I try to get across. My teaching has gone beyond Pacelli to UW-Stevens Point as well. I've hosted many practicum students, and a number of student teachers have trained with me. I try to stress being well prepared, maintaining a disciplined classroom, but having a sense of humor and humility as well. And I got that right away from my sister long ago, who says, when you get in that class, don't try to fool them. They'll recognize it right away. And I think that that's fairly true. All right. I'd like to talk a little bit now about my relationship with God. I'm sure God exists because he's given me the two things that I wanted most in life. One of the things I wanted most in life was to teach in a Catholic school for 45 years. That may sound weird, but way back when I was 21 years old, it was like, well, what would be a good number to shoot for, knowing that rarely do people actually stay in one place for a long time. And I thought, if I could get 45 years in, that's pretty significant. I think I can do that. So God has given me that. And the other one, Don and Marilyn will recognize this one. I'm going to tear up here. Was to say to my father, Gordon Francis, meet Gordon Francis, when I had my son. And this goes back to my adoption. Looking back at my life, I had just the most beautiful experience with my dad. Just the most wonderful life with him. Some of it shared with Don and Marilyn. And to realize that he could take another man's son and love me as much as he did. Incredible. Just incredible. And so that was another mic. Now, I got bonuses in life too. I got bonuses. I have a wonderful wife we'll talk about later on. Oh, she's practicing now. A wonderful wife, and a wonderful daughter, two feisty little grandkids. But son is special to me for that reason. God has helped me throughout my career. I have made mistakes, and he has helped me through all of them. And part of the way I know that this is what God intended me to do is because he's helped me through those mistakes to get me to my goal. He's helped me through some tough decisions relating to teaching. Some of them requiring some inspiration right at the moment, getting to the middle of fights. I remember one time at a dance long ago, some kids from Spash broke in and during the dance beat up one of the kids. This was long ago. Things were a little tougher 40 years ago than they are today. But I remember running out in front of their car, standing in front of the car, getting the license plate, and then dodging before they took off. But then there are other things too. Dealing with prejudice in the classroom, how to deal with that. Years ago, I had some kids do some extemporaneous writing, and then had them share it. And one of the kids boldly got up and said some very, very nasty things about the Hmong who were coming into the area at the time. And it's like, how do I deal with that? So I said, I don't remember this yet. Prejudice is a terrible thing. Hatred is learned. It's been the cause of much, much violence in the world. But you think these people should go back? I can tell you, if we were to live by what you suggest, then many, many people here in Stevens Point, with the last name of S.K.I., and his was, would be going back to a small country in Eastern Europe where things are not quite as good as they are here. And that quieted them. But try to make them aware of the, make them aware of the immensity of what he was suggesting and the wrongness of what he was suggesting. It was tough. It came to me, that was the Holy Spirit at the time. Dealing with apathy and irreverence at prayer functions, which happens, that gets under my skin a little bit. Dealing with getting reamed out in front of a cafeteria full of people at parent-teacher conferences. He's helped me know what to say and how to handle all these situations. And I often realize that when I say something in the classroom, when something big happens in the classroom, God's speaking through me. It's not me, and I thank God for that. He's helped me deal with students fairly and justly. How do you handle some of these things? Like those students who always happen to be sick on test days. How do you handle that fairly and justly? Students struggling with death in a family. How do you be open to and compassionate and at the same time get done what needs to get done? People or students struggling with physical, emotional difficulties. That makes just going to school difficult for them. How do you handle those situations in ways that benefit both them and what needs to be done as far as their education goes? So there has been a lot of situations in my life where God has been part of what goes on, and I realize that, recognize it, and thank him for being with me every step of the way. A life serving the Lord has been rewarding to me in many ways beyond a satisfying career. I've talked before about my really wonderful, talented, loving wife who teaches music and keeps me in line, which is necessary. 2 loving and caring children, energetic grandchildren. And I think my vocation has kept me young at heart and enjoying life all the way to this point, and I hope beyond. So I look forward to continuing to serve God in retirement. I'm just not sure how yet, but I think Father Steve has ideas, not sure. Oh, he's nodding. Yes, he's nodding. After all, it's exciting, but it's also a little bit scary. Because you see, I've lived my entire life according to the rhythm of the school year. And now, all of a sudden, it's not going to be quite that way anymore. So I want to end by thanking the parish members, all of you, for supporting Catholic schools, trusting me with preparing your children for the lives ahead of them, and giving me the honor of serving the Stevens Point Catholic community. Thank you.
Well, I have no doubt that some of you have more questions for Guy, so we'll take a few minutes for questions and answers.
I had the privilege of meeting Guy in his work. I was taking a tour of the Pacelli, and the principal brought me in there. And one thing I noticed about you was a joy that you had. It was you just full of joy. How did you maintain that?
It's just who I am, I think, maybe a little bit. The knowledge that I'm serving God helps me. And the realization, I think, that if you want the kids to be positive and joyful, you have to be positive and joyful. So I want that's maybe part of the education, maybe part of the evangelization, is realizing that there is hope, there is love, there is life, and I want you to be part of that. Yeah. That's pretty good for the spur of the moment. Thank you.
Other questions?
Oh, the COVID. We were ready for that. We really were. I remember before, as COVID started to hit, before we went on spring break, we were told that spring break might be a week or more longer than usual, but that we should bring our computers home with us, and they had a plan for when we got back, how we were going to do virtual education. And we got back and we started it, and we were able to finish the school year. We had amazing attendance rates at the time. So for the rest of that year, we did everything virtually, and it worked pretty well. And the next year, then it became, I believe, people had the option. So some students were there, others were at home. So in that case, the year before, we had done most of things by writing out our lessons and homework and things like that. The next year, though, it became more actual, like, Zoom classes that were taking place. So we had some students in front of us, we had some students at home, but everything was Zoomed. It was an actual classroom situation. And it was amazing. We had very, very high attendance for those things, and it worked really well. We were prepared for it, and I don't think we lost much as far as education went with that. Yeah. Recently, Father Todd asked me, what is the biggest change you've experienced? What's been the biggest change, the biggest thing that's had the biggest impact on education and in my 45 years? And believe it or not, I think it's been the raising of the drinking age. It used to be a problem. 40, 45 years ago, it used to be a problem. Kids would go out for liquid lunches, and every school event, we had to deal with people who had been, students who had had too much to drink, and all the impact of that. But after that, I don't think kids stopped drinking, but they got smarter about it and would not go to school. And so things started to improve a little bit. And often teachers today complain about the kids and how poorly behaved they are and things like that. But really, I would say the kids today are wonderful. We go to pep assemblies and the kids support each other. Seniors will team up with freshmen to do some activities, and everyone seems just to have a good time. So a lot of, now some people have suggested as well, and this could be true, that awareness of bullying and the harm of that has made a big difference too. But yeah, I think that just getting the alcohol out of the schools has had a big impact on the whole demeanor of the entire place. Now, after that, yes, comes what you would expect to come, computers and now smartphones. That's made a big change in how we do things. But I really think that getting the alcohol out of the high schools has had a big impact and has slowly made it so that really, and this may be part of the joy, teaching today is a joy, at least at Pacelli High School and the Pacelli system, because the kids really are good kids. And they really support each other, I think, and go from there. Yeah. Yeah. As I said, I think that as far as behavior, respect goes, it's much better now than it was 40 years ago. It just was. I remember back when I was Dean of Students. I was Dean of Students for a couple of years back then. And my first case, if you will, was the very first day of school when one of the seniors tried to burn down a poster or a big banner welcoming the freshmen. Because, and he felt very, very confident in saying, freshmen don't deserve anything nice here. And that was kind of the mindset back then. Now that the students really do support each other. Now, I understand that there's a little cliquishness that still goes on there. For example, we have Manu, who was confirmed, who says a little bit that, you know, we are a little isolated here, where in Brazil, everyone's friends with everyone. And she feels that she's not quite welcome to go out to some of the students. So a little bit of that still exists. That's part of our culture too, I think, compared to theirs. But I do think that kids are much more positive, respectful, they help each other, they understand each other, they're rooting for each other a lot more now than they were back then. Yeah. Sue?
So every student is required to have English. Does every student pass through your classroom?
Yes, every student does. And so I'm able to get to know all the juniors and seniors I know, and well, my impact is different on each one. But yes, I do teach all the students.
I have a question. I'd like to know what your favorite book is to read and
Okay.
what kind of genre that you like.
All right. When I went through the Diocesan Lay Ministry program, we had Father John Parr. I don't know if you know, yeah, but he was our book recommender. Every time we were there, he said, recommend a new book for us. So he recommended some good ones. And the one he recommended that was my favorite was John Irving's A Prayer for Owen Meany. Yeah, John Irving wrote The Hotel New Hampshire and The World According to Garp, but his A Prayer for Owen Meany is my favorite. It's got some incredible characters and a pretty touching message too. but I like lots of them.
I think we have time for one more question, if there's one more out there. Well, I know Guy,
No,
thank you,
yeah.
Susan.
Just a comment, Guy, about you meant bringing up adoption and what a positive experience that was for you as a child. And I'm a parent because we were able to adopt children. And I just really think that message is a good one to get out, because sometimes there's negative things that come out about adoption, and not often, but it's just really good to speak about it in such beautiful terms.
It usually comes up one way or another in just about every class. But the students listen attentively. They're very interested in my experience and interested about that option. Yeah. Folks, you honor me all by being here. This is amazing. And I appreciate the support I've gotten from all of you through the years, and I'm really happy I'm part of this parish.
Thank you. So if you would like to speak to Guy more personally, I'll just invite you out to the gathering space at this point, and you can enjoy talking there too.